Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And welcome to another cynically hilarious episode of Tiki's Universe, the show where we recap and respond to all the greatest things in current television animated programming, including Rick and Morty, DuckTales, Star vs. Force of Evil, and for the first time ever, Dragon, we are talking about the Netflix sensation, arguably one of the greatest Netflix shows, one of the most popular Netflix original series. We are talking about Bojack Horseman, specifically the fourth season. We're going to run through episode by episode through this thing. But first, Dragon, before we do that, since this is basically the first time that we're doing Bojack in the form of a podcast on the channel, I think it's appropriate to kind of give our stance on this show. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't have at least some sort of affection for Bojack Horseman. But basically, Dragon, where I was coming from, when I first heard about the show, I was much like you. I was like, do we really need another, another cynical kind of oh, look at all the parodies of Hollywood culture and whatnot. Really, that's what was really kind of turning me off to the show when I first heard about it, was just kind of like the shallow, oh, it's a bunch of celebrity parodies, herp-de-dur. And, I like the aesthetic of the show, of course, takes some getting used to the anthropomorphic animals, the real building. And really, I think at the end of the day, everyone can agree that the first half of season one, kind of a rough start. I mean, I'm not saying those episodes were bad, but this show kind of had a mini Steven Universe on its hands here where,
You know what's weird? I still can't tell the difference in that. It still doesn't occur to me what really changed with that.
I mean, I think it gets, I think season one gets more intense once we start getting into the interpersonal stuff with Diane and her brothers. And, of course, the Herb stuff is at the end is where it really, where it really solidifies itself.
Right.
Bojack Horseman always has excellent episode 11s, and season one was no exception with the Herb episode. That was the moment. I think that was kind of like
Stanley Tucci.
Oh, yeah, right. I think the Herb episode was kind of the moment that solidified the show as what it could be, the emotions it could bring out of you. And of course, the character of Bojack is just such an he's just a fascinating mix of unlikable and completely and totally empathetic. He is definitely sort of a powerful avatar for anxiety and depression and, just socially not being up to task. And I find a lot of relatability in Bojack, and I find a lot of relatability in how the show personifies personal relationships, personifies how, your life can go downhill in the midst of a depression. While none of my life is as dramatic as Bojack's, it's refreshing to see a show take on the dark subject matter of depression and do it in not only a lighthearted way, but also a very powerful, eye-opening, kind of cathartic sort of way to see it brought to light like this. So really, at the end of the day, as I said, all episode 11s have been incredibly powerful. The Sarah Lynn episode in season 3, and of course the Escape from Escape from LA, the New Mexico episode in season 2.
Oh yeah.
And this season definitely carries on that tradition. I thought this season was, for the most part, fantastic, Dragon. Let me tell you the pros and cons of season 4 really quick before we get into your side of things. For me, the big pro of season 4 was I feel like this was the most inventive season yet when it came to different ways to tell the story and different episode structures. And each episode kind of felt like its own unique thing. And I felt like we were getting tastes of that in season 3, especially with the the underwater silent movie episode we got early in season 3.
That was a good one.
But this season feels like almost like a whole episode of a whole season of those sort of
one shots.
Yeah, right. And they all tie together into a pretty good story. However, I don't think that basically the big weakness of season 4 for me is I don't think the interpersonal stuff was as strong as in previous seasons, specifically seasons 2 and 3. I think the season makes up for it with continuing really powerful moments and, like I said, just the way in which the stories are told. However, I think the main cast was spread a little bit too thin this season. And of course, you and I can both agree. Well, I've been a fan of Mr. Peanut Butter up until this point. I think this is a season where I kind of got on the same level as you about Mr. Peanut Butter. I didn't really think Mr. Peanut Butter really added much of anything to the season. There were a couple moments he had later on in the story with Bojack that I appreciated, but really all the stuff with running for mayor and everything was ridiculous and took up way too much. Governor, sure, yeah. It took up way too much time, and it was kind of on the nose, like, oh, politics are big in the news, so we should have a political story. And that, to me, was the big weak point of Season 4. However, I do think that this season is still a fantastic season of animated program, and I very much look forward to Season 5 and beyond. Go ahead.
Yeah, so in general, Bojack Horseman, I was very much just kind of like, I wasn't interested in it from the beginning. So I was very much avoiding Bojack Horseman when it was announced. Ever since the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're going for. You know what? I'm not really interested. It's kind of, the reasons Tiki echoed, but mainly it's sort of this. One, I really couldn't buy into the anthropomorphic thing. Like, look, if it was one singular character being anthropomorphic, I'd buy into a little bit more. Like, in the kind of the absurdity of the Hollywood system, we have kind of like a sort of like a TED premise going on here. Like, okay, there's this bear, and no one questions that I can talk. And it's just like, hey, he's kind of a celebrity. Oh, there's Ted. I always thought that was just from the beginning. That was just my thought going into it. Like, I don't understand why they can't just go for that. And then I was seeing. I was just kind of visual. I was always aesthetically turned off to it. And I was kind of lumped in kind of the bad direction we had been going lately, and kind of the edgier kind of adult kind of animated, not just animated sitcom, but kind of the basically this seemed like they were going for like kind of the washed up sitcom star. And that was like the only real difference I could see from then something I'd find on kind of Fox these days. And I really just feel, okay, it's on Netflix, everyone's watching, that's what everyone's talking about. I didn't get it. I hear it being brought up constantly. By
me.
Mainly by Tiki, yes. In large part by Tiki. And you know what happened is one of these days, you know when you pause something on Netflix and you have like kind of that string of things, like all like the other programs just flash on the TV, and they kind of go by like a slideshow or something. Honestly, just kept looking me in the face so much one day. He's been riding me. You gotta check it out. You gotta. I was like, fine, check it out. It's just like, you know what? I'm caught up on everything else. I'll give Tiki wants to. We were talking about maybe doing the holiday stuff, which I don't know. Bojack Horseman was kind of like in the conversation. It's like, all right,
we might still do that for Christmas in July.
It's so boring, though.
Yeah, but I mean, look, we're running thin on options for Christmas in July, all right?
Anyway, that'll be the mark of when we're desperate, folks.
No, the mark of when we're desperate is when we get into the CW stuff.
Well, now, I mean, we were interested in Flash.
Well, I'm interested. Anyways, let's not make this a whole...
Anyway, getting to the point here. So eventually I checked out Bojack Horseman, and I'm still... Going into it, honestly, after I watched the first season, I was like, yeah, I'm really iffy on, for the reason I'll flesh out in the middle second here. But essentially, the thing that kept me coming back for the rest of the seasons, the reason I watched season 2 is after I reached the end of season 1, is, I looked at kind of honestly, I kind of got roped into the Rotten Tomatoes of it all. I saw, okay, first season, 50%, I kind of get that. Then I saw season 2, 100%, season 3, 100%. Like,
yeah, there's a huge jump in quality between seasons 1 and seasons 2 and 3 for sure.
So that compelled me to keep watching. I gotta see what changes with this. What goes on, man? I'm watching it. And I'm starting to binge it. It has me on the hook there. Honestly, I still. The only thing as Tiki kind of factored in is that all the good stuff happened towards the end of season 1. They kind of found their footing, and they just kind of had a few more one-shot episodes as it went on, and it's kind of consistently is the same. So even to this day, I'm still not 100% on it, but I understand and I buy the appeal. I get why people like the show. I get it. I think for me, I think the Bojack stuff and Will Arnett's performance as Bojack, honestly, the Bojack story, I think is smartly written. That's the main thing I get with kind of the love for Bojack Horseman. That's the reason I still watch now. It's like, man, I'm really loving the stuff we're doing with Bojack.
I mean, as I said, he's one of the most crushingly realistic depictions of depression I've ever seen.
And I just think he's so well played by Will Arnett.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And second to that, Todd is fun. I kind of come back for Todd.
Todd was always the thing that I was trying to sell you on. Like, hey, come on, it's Aaron Paul basically playing Jesse Jesse Pinkman, but it's a more lighthearted Jesse Pinkman.
And I still, I mean, at this point, I think I've gotten used to it. But in the beginning, especially getting used to the anthropomorphic designs, the whole world full of anthropomorphic animals, and it still bugs me even to this, especially this season with all the pregnancy. I mean, the borderline bestiality. That's kind of
the thing about that is you just kind of have to accept that that's the style of world building the show chose to go with.
It still weirds me out, especially weird me out like when Diane had the abortion thing. It was like, oh man, this is just really she's might give birth to a dog. That's gonna be really weird. That's the thing. I still can't really get behind any of that. But I've at least gotten used to the idea of it's universal anthropomorphic animals. At least I've gotten used to it. I'm not saying I love it, but I've gotten used to it. And here's the main reason I was so hesitant. I'm still it still exists. This issue still exists for me. The animation style is a few bad moves or a few bad designs away from being Mr. Pickles.
Oh God, I don't think it's that bad at all.
I'm serious. I mean, you look at it. I'm saying the human designs are.
I mean, I see what you mean, but it just like the way that they do it is so much more tasteful than.
I mean, yes, I'm saying
like
that's one of the things that scared me off with the designs in the beginning because it looks eerily similar to Mr. Pickles. I'm saying there are a few bad designs away from them. I mean, I don't know if it's the same animators, same designers on the crew, basically doing a better job on BoJack, or not. But I'm just saying you can see what I'm talking about. Like, in the human design theory, they look very the teeth and everything identical to the style of Mr. Pickles.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
That show just scared me. I was like, watch like an episode or two.
No, that show, yeah, I can't deal with that show. Yeah,
that was the big thing that chased me off BoJack for the longest time. I was fearing it was gonna be like another one of those. So it was like, oh god.
No, trust me, if it was another one of those, I wouldn't have recommended it.
Exactly. So the point is, I'm just saying, there's always that fear the animation might go that wrong. But so far, I mean, in the very beginning, there was that fear. Now I've gotten over that fear. I mean, they're very consistent with the animation. And of course, the last thing I have to hit here is with BoJack on the whole. I hate Mr. Peanut Butter. I've hated him from day one. I hate him with a burning passion. This season was kind of the compendium of my hatred of Mr. Peanut Butter. I hate him more than I've ever hated him before, to be quite honest. Like I despise this dog. Short of the game show episode, this is the most I've hated Mr. Peanut Butter.
To me, I've always thought Mr. Peanut Butter was a good comedic foil to BoJack, and I've always kind of appreciated his kind of like optimistic outlook on life compared to BoJack. However, I don't think that works when you barely have Mr. Peanut Butter and BoJack interacting with each other. There's a couple times where Mr. Peanut Butter and BoJack do interact, and I think it's like, some of the few times where I actually like Mr. Peanut Butter this season. But really, this season kind of made me realize that Peanut Butter doesn't really stand on his own as a character if he doesn't have BoJack as a foil. Like, I feel like Todd stands on his own a lot better than Peanut Butter does, as a fleshed out character without BoJack.
The thing about Mr. Peanut Butter is he kind of scares me a little. He makes me identify with Bojack Horseman. That's the thing.
I think that's the point of his character, though. So in that way, they're kind of doing their job.
I don't know. I think they're doing it too well in that case because it's just the fact that it's the fact that this guy literally he rips off BoJack and he's always so happy-go-lucky. He's always interfering. He's always like he's undercut. Like I think that BoJack's something relatively good at it. He's always kind of stealing his thunder in every way, shape, or form. He doesn't get, and the fact that he just doesn't get any of it, he just doesn't take a single hint, and I can't stand the guy.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I just I wish it was like Mr. Dog Tester or something, Mr. Chocolate Tester or something. Like, oh god, this chocolate tester. Like, where's a milk truck when you need one? Whenever Mr. Peanut Butter appears for me, it's gotten that bad this season for me with him. Anyway, and this season, the whole honestly, aside from Mr. Peanut Butter stuff, it was a very solid season.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to start jumping in episode by episode then?
Well, broadly, what happens this season, Tiki?
Oh yes, of course. So, folks. This season is all about Bojack Horseman being on the course to correct himself and right the wrongs of his past after the cathartic and heartbreaking ending of season 3 where he nearly commits suicide. Bojack returns to LA after a months-long isolation, kind of exploring the roots of his past. Meanwhile, we have shenanigans on the side of Mr. Peanut Butter, Todd, and Diane, where Mr. Peanut Butter is running for governor against Mayor Kudchuck Burowitz, which I think is Berkowitz. I love the Woodchuck Coodchuck.
I love that actor.
That's hilarious.
We'll get into that when we get into the episode.
I just think the name is just hilarious wordplay.
It is.
Okay, so, anyways, meanwhile, Princess Carolyn begins to ponder the idea of starting a new family with her new boyfriend, the very mousy but nice Ralph. He's a nice guy.
Ralph.
And things start to go awry as a new horse enters the fray, one Hollyhock. Now, this horse is almost assuredly Bojack's biological daughter, but as the season goes and twists and turns, and through a chance reunion with Bojack's cantankerous and emotionally abusive mother, we get to learn more about the horse and his world view than we ever have before, ending in an incredibly cathartic and just chilling moment of self-reflection and recognition on both Bojack and Hollyhock's part.
Yeah.
All right. Think I did that justice?
Yeah, it's good enough. Yeah.
All right. So let's...
Or to quote the great Walt Disney, that'll do.
Fair enough. So let's get into See Mr. Peanut Butter Run.
Yes, we're going to break down the episodes here and kind of give like a highlight reel of what we liked or disliked about the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Now, of course, it was a bold choice to not include Bojack at all in the first episode, as this teaser poster that I'm using for the root image here suggests.
Yeah, I love that marketing, by the way, the whole "Where's Bojack" thing, and because we ended with him like, looking at the horses, kind of debating these guys. He was kind of taking in kind of the inspirational stuff of that image, and the fact, we don't see Bojack for the first episode, and we kind of build to him, and the fact that Diane's calling him left and right, just get no response. It's kind of a cool mystery, and of course, mystery it goes a little full circle by the end of this. The ending episode of the season is all about a mystery.
So I think the Diane stuff is probably my favorite stuff in the episode, with her kind of echoing how Bojack used to treat her. Where she's very much, trying to grasp onto the past of her friendship with Bojack in the midst of just this completely insane fraud of an election being held by Mr. Peanut Butter and both of Peanut Butter's ex-wives. Oh, God.
So let's see. I'm
going to challenge the governor to a skiing competition.
God. So let me talk about the governor who's running his opposition. Okay. So he is played by a guy. I hope I'm his last name right. Andre Braugher.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Andre Braugher, I love this guy. He is on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He is hysterical. I've seen him in other things. I've always loved him. The only time he hasn't really grabbed me with his performance, he wasn't necessarily bad. It was just it was a bad character. Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. He was the Nick Fury ripoff. Mm-hmm. So the point is, I've always loved this actor, and I thought he had like a really great role. And this guy, he has the best delivery ever. He was also in the show Men of a Certain Age. Just he's Captain Holt on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. The gag is like this guy is the most straight-laced guy. Whenever he literally he can turn anything into he has like one of those great just kind of phone book deliveries. Anyway, he plays Woodchucker, more professionally, Wood Charles. Coodchuck Berkowitz, and he's just this fastidious. He's so insightful. He's such a smart. This is the guy you want to be governor. This is a smart guy.
I think this is a really great. This is a really great addition to the Peanut Butter storyline because it just kind of holds up to a mirror, just how insane and idiotic Peanut Butter's idea is. Because you have this guy to compare him to. I don't know. To tell you the truth, I feel like this season's arc for Peanut Butter is kind of all about sort of stripping away those sort of false facades of perfection that he had. You know what I mean? It's all about kind of showing Peanut Butter as kind of an imperfect person who's definitely getting riled up and getting in over his head.
Tiki, I'm gonna counter argue this here. So here's the thing: this episode, I feel, had the opportunity to tell that story, and that's the thing that kind of got me on the hook with the Peanut Butter stuff for a change, for a moment. Let me explain this. There was a moment in this episode. It was a really interesting moment, and they kind of subverted expectations. So with this ridiculous plot that Mr. Peanut Butter has here, basically he's challenging this. I want to say he was governor. He's running for re-election, I think. Regardless, his opposition.
No. What it was is that Peanut Butter was just trying to get signatures to call for, to call for him to get out of office. So it wasn't even a re-election. It was just Peanut Butter trying to get him ejected from office. via a petition campaign.
Oh, God. So just the point is, this stupid dog. God, I hate this dog. I hate this effing dog so much. Anyway, the point is, Peanut Butter. He challenges him to a ski off. And I know that
though he's never skied. You know, he can't ski.
Have I ever wanted to punch a screen? The moment he said that, just anyway. The point is, you know, he challenged him to a ski off, and they're skiing, and throughout the scene, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh God, are you gonna do the by numbers thing as much as? And I love Woodchuck in all of this. I want to make that clear. I love Woodchuck in all this peanut butter nonsense. I love him to pieces. I do, because he holds up a mirror, not just to peanut butter, more so to the society of Hollywood, which I really Hollywood to be more accurate, which I really love. The fact that he's we have this running gag throughout the season of like, look, guys, this is ridiculous. Well, no, the hands is funny, but it hasn't happened yet.
I'm sorry,
the whole what is it? The running gag of like, hey, if everyone look, this is ridiculous. It's against the Constitution. Well, if the Constitution were changed, would you do it? It says yes. If the Constitution were changed, basically they're listing out these unlikely. Like long, arduous processes. If they get done, like if these like issues we've been trying to get going for years, not the skiing thing so much, but everything else, for years, like all these amendments and everything. If they get changed, then certainly we'll do this absurd, outlandish thing. I love that running gag, and the fact that happens, he's like, I just love it. He's playing it very straightforward. No, I'm not going to dignify this with a response. And he says, okay, fine. If this very unlikely but beneficial thing happens, so be it. It does, because people, is how the Hollywood culture wants to see. Yeah, let's see a ski off, man. Let's make it a cheesy 80s movie. Anyway, so throughout this whole scene, I'm thinking, oh, God, it's going to be a stupid thing. After all of that, Peanut Butter's going to be in office as the governor for the season. It's going to be a bunch of BS. It's going to piss me off. And then we have this beautiful bit. I had to rewind because it was like, one, just for the sheer pain of Mr. Peanut Butter. He just slams into a pole and loses. And I was like, I want to make sure he didn't win by technicality. Rewind it. Yes. And then, even better, I realized, oh my God, Todd won, because Todd basically swoops in. Which again, I'm not going to the whole rules and the loophole thing, but hey, Todd won. I like Todd. That's a plot line, Tiki, I can get behind. Todd becomes governor. I love that idea. I was so excited.
It sounds almost as exciting as Todd becoming a millionaire.
I know, and here's the thing. So this is was that for me on this moment here. I'm thinking, okay, hooray! No, literally, like Todd, hooray! Hooray, Todd's going to become governor for the season. That'll be interesting. And maybe with Mr. Peanut, we hold up that reflective mirror you're talking about. Okay, maybe he realizes, maybe I got to grow up a little bit. Maybe I got to be a better character. Maybe I got to be less naive, maybe. And then we have the realization that as Todd, he's christened, and that's great. Like, he becomes governor. He says, you know what, guys, I don't want this anymore. I don't really want to be governor. And then it says, oh, well, now they have to have an election. Oh, God.
I mean, I do think that is very much in Todd's character, though, especially this season with the arc that Todd's going through, which is just finding himself. It would have been so
funny for him to be governor, though.
I understand that. It's just, like I said, I just think, like, Todd's character is never about, like, wanting to be anything lavish. That's why we had the whole subplot of him just instantly giving away millions of dollars. So.
Yeah. Well, you see what I mean, though. It's just like, again, I think that would have given Peanut Butter a chance to.
Okay, so really quick in this episode, we get some more stuff with Ralph, Carolyn's new boyfriend. I really like Ralph. He seems like a really nice
Ralph's
guy.
Nice. I mean, I also enjoy Ralph. I'm with you there.
Kind of questioning, are they going to move in together? And then also Todd goes on a misadventure on the drone throne, which I thought was marvelous.
Yeah, that's how he wins the ski.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on.
We mentioned Todd's asexual. We'll save that for the next. Go there. Let's keep going.
Yeah, save that for episode 3. Okay, so moving on to episode 2, we go from an episode with no Bojack in it to an episode that only features Bojack, and then
which I thought was brilliant. It was a great move.
Yeah, and this episode is just the start of the most haunting storyline I think Bojack Horseman has ever done, which
the old
is
Sugarman place.
Yeah, my God. I mean, you want to talk about the show getting darker and darker and darker. This episode, we see essentially Bojack's mother seeing her own mother, so Bojack's grandmother, getting basically getting
lobotomized.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Oh God, it's all this stuff in this this episode is just so chilling, Dragon. And of course, I love the device as Bojack's going through the old Sugarman place, the title, the namesake location of the episode, and we keep seeing the flashbacks kind of intersecting with what's going on in present time. I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was a really, really interesting, really emotional device. I think the scene between when the widower Fly is kind of telling his story and then Bojack's mother is singing, like that contrasted against each other frickin' perfectly.
Like kind of the chase scene going on there. Of course, when they're driving on the road, they have the car there, and when Bojack is watching the kind of the bio special on basically based on the TV movie about Sarah Lynn dying with Paul Giamatti playing him.
Oh my God, I love that.
Oh, by the way, we got oh my God,
oh, Vincent D'Onofrio. Oh my God, yes. Holy crap.
God, see, stupid peanut butter. Anyway, yes, so real quick.
Yes, no, it's fine.
Real quick. Super important. And he actually did the voice thing.
Yes, he did, and it was perfect, and it sounded just like our impression of him. So it was like totally caricatured. Oh God.
So we find out that Vincent D'Onofrio actually was the knockoff of the Bojack Horseman, horsing around show as the knockoff that eventually became the Peanut Butter Show before Mr. Peanut Butter and the Freight ruined everything. Had Vincent D'Onofrio in the title role. He wasn't really jiving with it, but David Chase, again they got everyone.
Oh my God,
they're working up the show idea, and basically this D'Onofrio has had enough for you.
Yes.
Or just to make it a little bit more applicable, this D'Onofrio has had enough for you, Mr. Murdoch.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Oh, I just thought it was just hysterical. I was like, I was checking the end credits, like, okay, tell me you did the voice. Because sometimes they have a thing where they kill off or do horrible things to people who do not do their own voice, and because he left the show, so I wasn't unsure of is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Point is, yeah, he did not for you. And speaking of the celebrity thing, of course, we had Paul Giamatti playing Bojack. So, well, I mean, the act, not only the voice. I don't think it was the voice of Giamatti.
This show is very meta, Dragon. So yes, it does make sense that Paul Giamatti would be playing Bojack in a TV movie of Sarah Lynn's death.
Yeah, and the whole reason of that whole damage is again, as Sarah Lynn thing's going on, we see the flashback to her losing her brother.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, right, I'm sorry, her son.
Right. Her son.
Yep. Sorry. Yep.
It's fine. It's fine. Oh God, just the use of music in this episode, Dragon. Just everything about it. Just the sense of nostalgia, of lost time. This episode's really haunting.
Oh yeah, so this is a very solid Bojack episode. It shows us. I love it. We fill in all the blanks. We see where we left him last season, with the directly with the horse thing. We pick up and we just see what he's been doing all this time. Basically fix. I love it that the time that spans in all this with Eddie. Eddie the widower. Kind of fixing up the house. And I love the friendship they start to build as they're building the house.
Yeah, Eddie's the great kind of one-off character for this episode for sure.
Certainly, and then of course, as all that great stuff with Beatrice, and of course we all the Beatrice stuff is kind of introduced in this episode. What we're going to be doing with her this season. I like how Beatrice became a very important character this season.
I feel like they've been building her up a lot through the first 3 seasons, and this is just such a good payoff to all that build up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as Eddie's friendship, over fixing the house kind of develops, we have this, this big old climax at the end of it. At the end of the episode, basically, Bojack kind of catches him at a vulnerable moment. He makes him do something, he swore he'd never do by making him fly. Again, hoping to help. And again, there's this great dichotomy you have where Bojack tries to do something nice, or Bojack is constantly in the show thinking he's trying to fundamentally be a good person, which is very hard. And it's kind of the ongoing struggle. And point is, Bojack does something nice, but he's trying to do something nice. He goes about it the wrong way, and it does not go well. As he basically swore he'd never fly because he and his wife flew, and he then kind of awesomely but very terrifyingly he grabs Bojack and this is the scary part of it all here. He recounts how she died. Basically, she flew one night when he didn't want to, and she flew into a turbine of a of a plane, and he threatens to do the same thing with Bojack in tow, and they narrowly escape with their lives. And Bojack is resuscitating. I love the desperation that Will Arnett does this season. There's like a few scenes where he's just desperate, and like there's the bathroom scene in episode 10, I think. And it's excellent, and we have this, and importantly, another suicidal character. Bojack had kind of a suicidal thing last season. We do that here with this other sad character with Eddie saying, "I don't want to live. I don't want to live." And Bojack kind of doing that thing here where he's severing ties, but he's trying to sever his ties to the past, which are going to be thrown into his face a lot with his mother this season. So as much as he tries to avoid it, it's going to be coming back for him. And that that lobotomy idea was fascinating. I thought just that fascinating lobotomy turn with Honey. That was the mother's Honey Sugarman pun.
Okay, let's get to something much more lighthearted. Hooray! Yeah. A Todd episode!
Oh boy. I love the opening to this episode so much.
The triangle thing? Yes.
I
also love the payoff to it at the end.
Yes, it was so
good for him.
Just, oh my God, Tiki. I love Keith David, the wonderful Keith David, with such a rich voice for animation. Oh my God, Keith David, so wonderful. Keith David basically giving the legend of Todd and how he came across Todd. He kind of saved his daughter or something. And he basically gave her some very profound advice about about that kind of educate her on religion. It's ridiculous but awesome. Just giving her this life-changing talk, and we see he's coming and how Todd he helps out everyone. He's such a helpful guy. Again, we see him running like the Dickens to play the triangle at the very end. Like this one little game that literally anyone could do. And they have this great setup line with the Keith David lion here, who says, some of these, and it gets almost like kind of like a Dark Knight Rises thing, but it's really, really nicely done here, where he says, one of these days I wish I could look over there and not see him, because a part of me wonders, like, how can someone be so nice? And he shouldn't be beholden to doing something nice for us. He should do something nice for himself, and
that's a good setup to the rest of the episode, as we see him getting worn super thin between Peanut Butter's campaign, and then of course he gets involved with the new character Hollyhock, and then he gets set up with a sham relationship from Princess Caroline with a headline-grabbing celebrity.
Yeah, it's Todd trying to make everyone happy, which is one of the reasons we love Todd. He's a nice guy. He asks for so little. He just wants a roof over his head. That's all this guy wants. And he goes all these strange, bizarre, and hilariously exotic places. And I love also like all the other guys saying, "Oh yeah, Todd Showers. I heard he did this. I heard he was like switched with a foreign guy. I've heard he was in a Russian prison. Like all the stuff we actually know Todd has done. Like he's built such a legend now. It's awesome.
Yeah, good continuity there.
Yeah.
Let's see. I guess the two main plot lines to pick up on are, first, before we get to the main new character, let's talk about the sham relationship. What do you think of the Courtney Portnoy character? To be honest with you, this was one of the plot lines I kind of just thought fizzled out as the season went on.
I mean, you're right, it fizzled out, but it didn't bug me. I was like, okay, it's kind of nice Todd found someone, and the fact that he just kind of, I know he didn't actually, he didn't find someone. I like the pairing. I like the fact he's kind of pairing. Just get very, like, they're both kind of tolerate each other very well, and like you should kind of, again, she didn't like him. They just kind of hung out where they kind of mixed well. Like, it's two people, again, very appropriate to Todd's story. You're just kind of people kind of in their own lives, just kind of.
That's true. That's true. It is very appropriate to him. Yeah.
And I love the fact that Todd, in the meanwhile, it's like all this stuff's going on. He accidentally becomes a supermodel.
Yes, yes, and that carries its way throughout the rest of the season.
That I love. I love that Todd. He goes, like, kind of crashes a fashion show.
That's something that the show is really good at, is taking like these seemingly just like really goofy incidents and then tying it to the continuity of the whole season. Of course, the best example of that is the missing D in the Hollywood sign.
Mm-hmm. That still doesn't make sense because they found the D.
Yeah, just, they were just used to calling it Hollywood by that point.
Anyway. Let's see, but with Todd, I love the fact that he walked down the runway. Actually, he said something really insightful. Was this, oh my God, this voice speaks wisdom. Yes, let's make a. That's such a great understated fashion line. Yeah.
Right.
Just have this beautiful. I love how it's just holding a mirror up to. It's such a great satire of Hollywood fashion and everything here, where they just say, you know, this hat alone costs $50,000. It looks exactly the same as what Todd's wearing, but because it has a fancy name attached to it, it's part of a fancy line. They can charge through the nose to get it. It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, let's see here. So
I guess the last thing to get into really is Hollyhock.
yes, Hollyhock. So this thing bugs me, and they really it becomes in focus in episode 10 onward. But the whole fact that she has 8 fathers.
I mean, I wish we would have seen more of the 8 fathers, because honestly, when they finally do show up, they're really, really entertaining.
Yeah, but
especially Quackers.
Yeah, Quackers is yeah. Here's the thing. Again,
Quackers is basically like just a gay Howard the Duck.
Essentially. Now, my problem with it is not necessarily how their characters. You're right, they are fun, but I can't wrap my mind around the logic. You know, how can she be adopted by eight men, or approximately 4? I don't know how the pairings go. It might be.
Oh, it happens. It happens.
No, I'm saying, how can she be adopted so many times?
Because this is like a big convent home of gay men, Dragon. They all live together, and they're all married and gay together.
Well, that's the thing. The way I interpret it was
it's like Mormonism, except it's gay. So it's like gay polygamy. Does that make sense?
So basically, gay polygamy. Okay,
yeah.
That's actually a thing, right? That's just the whole.
I mean, look. I'm sure it's probably a thing. Yes, I mean, I don't put anything past anything.
Because all I'm saying is the only thing I have to go on to assume that is at the end they have a picture where they're all together in the scene.
Right, and then Bojack goes to the house at the end too, and they're all there. So.
That's what I'm saying. My assumption is that could either be the polygamy thing, or it could just be like, hey, it's like we're all big happy family taking like a group shot. I don't know. It's hard for me to infer that until the very end.
I'm pretty sure it's the polygamy thing.
Well, it makes a lot more sense now that we're okay. That makes a lot more sense. I was thinking like, well, why would she have so much fondness for them if they kept if people they abandoned her, then other people abandoned her.
So Hollyhock is a character I really enjoyed. I think she's probably the best new character since season 1.
Yeah, she's a good character. She brings up one of my favorite things of the season. I love seeing the traits of Bojack in her character.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the flashbacks as well, I love seeing the genealogy of Bojack Horseman, seeing the character traits from the Horseman family kind of unfold. And basically, we see kind of traits of Bojack and see where they kind of originated from. And I love that we get that a lot in Hollyhock, but also in all the flashbacks. I think that to me is the backbone of season 4.
For sure.
Let's see. Real quick, it's a fun running gag. I love the newsroom, kind of like the family. Like, we're not a newsroom, we're a family. The Keith Whale, Tom, Jumbo, Grumbo is like, what happened to Randy? Is he okay? Just the fact, Randy, there we are, big old hug. He's a little how friendly that guy is to his news crew.
Yeah, and as I already mentioned, the ending to this episode is beautiful.
Yes. Well, we should also mention the conversation between Bojack and Todd, because you got to remember, Bojack's been out of the equation for a while, and a lot of people are kind of re-experiencing Bojack after a while. And he and Todd, Bojack slept with what Todd thought was going to be his girlfriend.
Of course, and so Todd in this episode very much just kind of puts the foot down, like, look, Bojack, like you've been gone for months, and I've realized that my life is a hell of a lot better without you in it. So, he's very frank with him,
Yeah, and it's kind of we have that wonderful bookend where, of course, Todd does not show because he's going to the asexual meeting. Basically, everyone it's like a kind of like a group therapy type thing. That's a horrible way of putting it, but it's
no. I mean, it is group therapy essentially. I mean, it's there's nothing wrong with group therapy.
All right. Anyway, let's see. So also there's this hysterical line that Bojack has, and he says, I love how he's such a good actor, but when it doesn't count whatsoever, it's just he says, I can't bring another heart today, Todd. I need you to go over to Channing Tatum's house, and I need you to tell him I will not be his friend. I can't bring another heart today, not Channing. And look at what passion that performance is. It's so absurd. It's like Leslie Nielsen from Naked Gun or Airplane delivering the line. It's saying it's with such a straight.
And this is when we get into like the patheticness of Bojack's depression and play it for comedy. It does work very well.
And then again, it's seriously with the Todd Bojack stuff. I love it's a really nice genuine moment where Bojack does say, "Hey Todd, listen, whether you're around, I just want you to know I do appreciate you as a friend." We take that scene, we play it for comedy with Princess Carolyn, bear in mind, but we have a genuine version of that with Todd.
Sure.
Anyway.
Okay, let's see. Episode
4.
Yeah, episode 4.
Commence fracking.
Commence fracking. I thought it was let's get fracking, but I was wrong. No, it's commence fracking. It's commence fracking. You're right.
Okay.
This was kind of one of the weaker episodes of the season, I thought.
Well, again, this is feeding my hatred of Mr. Peanut Butter, so I can definitely.
Yeah, and honestly, I think this is one of the few episodes that doesn't really do a device. You know what I mean? Like, this just kind of feels like a routine episode.
Like the other, like the previous 3 are one-offs in a way. I mean, one's like kind of very much, it's very peanut butter centric, and the second one it was all Bojack. Third one's all Todd. This one it's your average run-of-the-mill episode, but it's not as thought-provoking as we can. I will say this though, I do like the adventure with Hollyhock.
We do get some good stuff with Bojack and Hollyhock. I love the obsessive fan of Bojack who's been waiting for her for like 30, she's been waiting for Bojack for like 30 years or something. Like,
probably 18 because of the whole Hollyhock.
Right. But, just still the idea like, I knew you'd come back one day. Like that was all very, very realistically creepy.
I will say
culture.
This is what I like about that, Tiki, is I love the fact there's some great logic applied to this, that, the reason he slept with this fan, the ultimate fangirl, end-all fangirl, is because it plays into his ego, and that makes a lot of sense for his character. That's the kind of woman Bojack would instinctually be attracted to. Someone's going to play to his ego, know everything about him, and I love he looks at that as like a great thing, and he enjoys it in the moment as well. It's pretty funny. And I will say this though, again, bear in mind not counting the whole Diane peanut butter thing. Which again, my main question is as it's always been, why doesn't Diane leave Mr. Peanut Butter?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I really thought this would be the season that would happen, and I'm really annoyed that we're just kind of...
Well, technically, it is, technically.
Well,
at the very end,
What do you mean, the very end?
Well, we'll get there.
I didn't see anything that was... You'll have to explain the ending to me. Maybe I missed some context.
All right. Anyway, let's see. Let me say, so with Princess Carolyn and Bojack's story, I do like, kind of the pregnancy and the fatherhood kind of dynamic, kind of the having
what do you think of the Harvey Fierstein ovulating watch?
You should know this because I love Mrs. Doubtfire. I love Harvey Fierstein. It's my favorite scene in Mrs. Doubtfire is the scene with Harvey Fierstein. It's the whole, it's the makeup scene. Everyone loves the makeup scene in Mrs. Doubtfire. Harvey Fierstein says, at this point in time, she should be making a baby with you. It's just great. Harvey Fierstein. He was on Nurse Jackie when I was watching Nurse Jackie. I was like, yeah, it's good to see Harvey Fierstein now and again. Nice guy. Anyway, let's see. So I love Bojack as the reluctant father. Basically she has to kind of coax him into like, maybe I shouldn't go home in the dead of night. Right down the couch.
right.
Yeah, good Bojack is really. I love seeing fatherhood explored through Bojack. Someone's just so unprepared for fatherhood. That's kind of funny. Okay,
let's get into episode 5. Thoughts and prayers.
This is a good one. This is a really clever one. Is one. Honestly, I think this one might be the best satire of the whole.
It doesn't necessarily have a lot of like unconventional storytelling to it, but you're right. It does have a ton of satire. Yeah. Of course, it's very, very cutting satire too of some really like important issues right now.
Yeah, I thought it was the most clever satire of the whole season. Is that we have this great, it's such a great, cruel yet relatable side of Hollywood or Hollywood. With how in reality you have to adapt to like all the ill-timed tragedy in the world, and again when they say thoughts and prayers they mean that, but at the same time it's just kind of like
but at the same time it almost kind of feels like just a professional like courtesy, like thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, like if you don't say it, it's blasphemy. It's
exactly.
You'll be crucified in the media if you don't say thoughts and prayers every 5 seconds with a gun with a gun massacre or something. But in all seriousness though, again, I love the fact, and this you imagine has to go through, it happens in Hollywood. We saw it happen with movies that came out during other tragedies. Of course, we've seen this happen with other movies. We've been on kind of the broad, from the viewer side of things. We've never seen from the production side of things. You got to imagine something like this happens. You know, like basically, there's been a massacre, and I love the fact that Turtle Taub,
Yeah, it's Turtle Top, I think.
Turtle Taub, voiced of course by the great J.K. Simmons.
Oh yes, oh yes.
You know, he found where did the shooting take place? No, give me the location. Where? Shopping mall. No, because he realizes in that moment. Oh god, our third act climax, which is a very gun-heavy movie, is a big old gun shootout at a mall. God. Very ill-timed for mistaken. Which I laughed so much at that pun. I really did. Just I love the. With the exception of the third one, I enjoyed the Taken movies. Mm-hmm. Mistaken. Oh god, it's such a ridiculous pun. And I love that we turned the gun issue into like a feminism issue, and it's so it's so funny how that running gag comes back into play here. The whole where basically Diane kind of makes kind of the plea saying, look, if they have a problem, you know, basically, you know, we no guns at all, or allow women to have guns. Basically, you know. Basically, treat women equally, or fix the gun problem. They fix the gun problem. To me, that's funny satire to me. That's you know.
And of course, we have the satire of like all the women start carrying guns, and they become like super intimidating to the men, and the men feel violated.
I love the honesty in this message, in this satire, though, because I mean, first of all, I love the gag of it's kind of it's an insightful gag where Diane just realizes, you know, she's very anti-gun, yet she has a gun in her hand, and kind of it's consistent a little bit with Diane's character and the fact that, you know, she's realizing, you know, she likes having the gun in her hand, you know, she likes kind of having power, and we see the negatives of empowerment sometimes. It kind of create realistic fear.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and of course, the only other thing to talk about is Bojack's mother at the nursing home.
Yeah, we established Beatrice's dementia story.
Oh boy, and this is just like every time this woman talks, it's just it's so sad, Dragon.
Of course, she's voiced by the always wonderful. And I've always loved this actress when in animation, like especially I grew up with her in Fillmore. I want to say that was the first thing I heard her in. Wendy Malick.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people know her from Hot in Cleveland. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's good. She's always been good when she's shown up, but she gets a lot to do this season. And she also voices every iteration of Beatrice, even when she's a little girl. That's her on helium, or they pitch her up or something. That's her throughout the whole thing.
Now, of course, we get the fuck you of the season earlier on than I was expecting. I gotta say, Dragon, I think this is probably the most weak sauce fuck you out of the four.
I still think one of the seasons they said it multiple times.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure they've always made a point to make it. And it's always been on episode 11, too. That's another thing that kind of broke the episode 11 trend. Because, of course, season 1, it was Herb. Season 2, it was Charlotte, I will fucking kill you. And then season 3, it was Todd. Like, fuck, man, I don't know what else there is to say.
Wait, how many is that?
That was one apiece from each of the 3 seasons.
All right, I was making sure we. Okay. Right.
So I don't know. I mean, that to me, that was almost like the biggest disappointment of season 4. And I know it's a little thing, but I think the well placed, you know, the fact that this show only has one fuck per season, very intentionally, it's always used in the most cutting moment to just cut Bojack down. And I don't know. I didn't think there was a payoff for it, really. Like, I guess.
Well, the payoff is you were expecting to hear it a second time, but you didn't because that's the arc.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. To me, it kind of like subverted that whole tradition, and I didn't really think it was worth subverting the tradition. I think they could have easily gotten a good fuck you in there in episode 11, but I don't know. You know.
Like one last thing I want to hit. We had this great timing gag with Bojack not lying to her anymore, not lying to Hollyhock, and you know, like every like couple, you know,
oh right,
15 minutes later, you know, we do a lot of fun times. You know, Bojack he's lied to her.
This is what I'm talking about. Where Bojack, he is desperately like trying to be a better person in the season. You know, he's not doing a good job of it, but he's trying.
One of the things I've always loved with Bojack's character, ever since the first season, if the muffin thing was in the first season, I've always loved it since the first season. I'm pretty sure, you know, the Patton Oswalt, you know, the muffin thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since the muffin gag, I've always loved this thing where Bojack, he's a guy who he's while he's not the best person, he is an honest person. I love how he's like Larry David level of honest, where people just will not be that honest. Well, he'll say, look, okay, you put the muffin down, you feel entitled to it because you have this very important job. But look, I mean, don't claim ownership of muffins. Don't take. He's calling people on their stuff. He's calling society on like the way it works in a very Larry David style. As little fact that he always makes the attempt to be honest. He never really. He'll course correct and he'll make sure like, hey, look, this is not right here, and he'll call it as it is. But not necessarily will he be a better person. He'll call himself on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so next up we get episode 6, Stupid Piece of Shit.
This had a great opening.
Dragon, this might be my second favorite episode this season after episode 11. I really love this one. And
that really is good. I mean, 11 is hard to beat.
Also, Dragon, you want to talk about depression? You want to talk about realistic depictions of depression?
I know, right? Yeah.
Bojack's inner monologue in this episode is exactly... Dragon, it's exactly what I go through. Like, to a T, okay? Like, just the repeated, like, you're such a stupid piece of shit. You're no good to anyone. You're such a stupid piece of shit. Get up, you fat piece of shit. No, the cookie thing, yes. The cookie thing is very relatable, Dragon, okay?
Even the cookie?
Yes. I'm telling you. Like, there's mornings where I'll, like, get Chips Ahoy, right? And I'll be like, oh, come on, you fat piece of shit. Make yourself some real breakfast. If you weren't so lazy, you'd make yourself some real breakfast. And look, I'm joking about this, right? But really, that inner monologue device, which is, of course, the big gimmick of this episode that really sells it, that inner monologue just makes this episode move at such a fun pace and hits really home in a realistic kind of way.
It is. It's just such a brilliant device, and seeing these little Bojack doodles just kind of expressing those feelings so well, and just kind of, and I love how it pays off towards the end of the season very well. And at the same time, it's Bojack's kind of his imaginative POV of how he sees himself and how kind of we get from point A to point B kind of Bojack's actions. Like we always just see, Bojack. We set that Bojack does these things, and we kind of spend time kind of wondering what leads to this, and we get a really good insight that what motivates him on that in a visual way, which is just, it's so darn clever. And again, like the simple solution is okay. We'll get the milk with Hollyhock. That's the simple solution, but he can't figure that out. So he doesn't want her driving, and he doesn't want her alone with the mother. So just take her with you and you drive.
right.
Again, because all this other swirling stuff he doesn't happen upon. I mean, it's in addition to like the great psychological stuff we're doing with that, and that is great. We also have some really good gags. Again, the cookie thing, while realistic, is hilarious.
Cookies aren't breakfast, you fat son of a bitch.
I think I gotta tell you, I know it sounds bad, I know it sounds simple. He's so honest with himself in places. He is. I just love how honesty he is in the inner monologue. And you call himself fat, and he's like, "Don't eat that cookie." Anyway,
don't eat one more cookie. Oh, I can't believe you ate that cookie.
I just love that. He's criticizing himself like that. Again, I know it's obviously it's
but as I said, Dragon, this is exactly the type of self-confidence destroying bullshit that people who live with depression have to go through on a daily basis.
I love the balance they struck where they can show the seriousness of that, but at the same time, a little bit of humor.
Make it funny. No, I agree.
Yeah. And also, of course, is with that, like the punctuation, like towards the end, I love the whole, aside from the cookies, which is funny, I love the, it's not even Oreos, it's like kind of like not even a name, he can't even get the name brand, he has to get like the lame knockoffs. Again, he's eating the Mr. Peanut Butter of cookies.
Oh, God.
Not peanut butter cookies.
Mr. Peanut Butter should brand he should make a brand of cookies. I think those would sell well.
Or he should eat the chocolate ones, anyway. So, I love the whole sober gag. Remember, like he's looking in the mirror, sober now, sober.
Yeah, right.
Well, he's trying to sober himself again. He's making the ridiculously impossible attempt. Sober now, he's trying, and he's I love how self-aware he is during all this, of all the mistakes he's making, and all the paranoia, all the fears, everything. He's like, okay, now. Anyway. Let's see. So, he's jealous of a doll too. Right. Not even of a doll, of doll. He calls it straight doll. That's its name now. Doll.
Dragon, remind me. This isn't the same episode where he throws the doll, right?
No, this is it.
Oh, this is it. Okay, that was a haunting moment too. Oh my God, just the way the mother reacts to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, the whole doll thing. Of course, we have the super eerie payoff of the doll in episode 11. So the doll is very pivotal. One, of course, representing the baby, and the baby that Princess Carolyn wants, but the baby that she had in her childhood, and the baby that Bojack has in the teenage daughter.
And of course, weaving in the mystery of who Henrietta is.
Exactly. Who the heck is Henrietta? It was like an Alfred manservant. What's going on here?
So really, at the end of the day, I think this season plays
the mystery
better.
Very well.
Yeah, it plays better as a mystery than it does kind of like a character study. I mean, there is a lot of good character stuff in it, but
to be fair, we've done character study already with the other 3 seasons.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's fine to shake it up a little. So, let's see. I loved Diedrich Bader's Judah. I've always liked Diedrich Bader's Judah. He really gets to shine this season.
He does. Yeah, I love that role. Yeah,
he's just he's like the Wesley of with the fact that we got D'Onofrio. I guess we're in kind of a headspace now. He's very much he's very much Wesley from Daredevil.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we also get the return of Keegan-Michael Key playing Rutabaga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, that's about it.
No, he's good. I just don't undersell him like that. Just
No, it's fine.
Let's trapping. Trapping Meryl Streep too. That was funny.
Oh my God! Right.
I love that. Here's the thing I love about it. It's less the fact that she gets trapped. It's more the fact that there's actually like a loophole and there's like a little fine print in the contract that if you get caught in a box, you were contractually obligated to fulfill that job offer. To me, is hysterical.
I tell you, they could do a whole season of BoJack Horseman and just do Meryl Streep jokes.
And don't forget the dark payoff, the full circle ending, Tiki. That's the important thing you gotta hit.
Remind me.
So the great opening of all the the kind of the doodle. I call it the doodle POV, whatever. Just the whole Bojack's self, the echoes and Bojack's subconscious and everything. They're all psychological drama we have in the opening. In the end, she has the same thing. She's asking Bojack.
Oh, right.
Does the voice is in your head? Does it ever go away? And he says yes. He lies to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good stuff.
Really powerful ending with that.
Okay. All right, episode 7, Underground.
I'm not crazy about this one.
Yeah, I'm not either. I think it had some interesting, like, high concept stuff going on. It's got a fun cameo from RuPaul as the Ant Queen.
I felt really bad for Zach Braff. And here's the thing. Again, they kind of broke their tradition here. Andrew Garfield says no doing the voice that, they drop him a few times. Zach Braff, he did his voice and he gets eaten alive. Where's the justice?
It's kind of Zach Braff's career at this point to get shit on, so.
Yeah.
Why won't anyone validate my parking ticket?
He just wanted to go home. The boy just wanted to go home, team. Why couldn't someone get him his car? Oh,
I think this episode has the best Bojack, Diane, and Mr. Peanut Butter dynamic of the season.
Well, Bojack and Diane, I'll give you.
I mean, I do like how... Okay, come on. You've got to admit that Mr. Peanut Butter does have a satisfying wrap-up to his arc of, basically realizing that Woodchuck is, just so much more qualified for the job and basically, like... kind of coming to terms like, yeah, this was a bad idea, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, it really comes to that late in the next episode, but I mean, in this one-off, I wouldn't.
I think the seeds are sown here because I think Peanut Butter realizes that he's just completely in over his head as a leader. Of course, Jessica Biel just completely starts a crazy like revolution based on fire. Almost that whole plot line kind of reminded me of Rick and Morty a little bit.
Let me look a few things here. Let me get a few things here. One, of course, I think 20,000 a plate. Come on, that is ridiculous, Peanut Butter. 20,000 a plate for your little governor election dinner. Come on, that is
that is a bit excessive.
And you see, like he says hi to Bojack, and he says, "Oh, here's my buddy," and he leaves him out in the cold. Ridiculous. And of course, it's like his idiocy. He doesn't realize he goes through his arc. But he doesn't go through his arc until literally his house is underground because of the fracking. He doesn't realize any.
No, you're right. You're right. It does take.
Like literally, we have this awesome moment where where good Chuck, he saves the, he comes down there, saves the day, and then they're like idiots.
At the expense of his hands, his poor
I know,
hands.
because those idiots can't stop cheering and
God.
underwater. They're
okay. I'm sorry. I've got to stop you. I love the timing on that gag, just because, like, to me, that's like the oblivious peanut butter that I love. That I think is really funny. Like just the fact that he has to overdo it. Like, they go through the 3 cheers, and then he's just like, "Let's give it one more cheer."
Literally, the foundation is shaking around them, and he doesn't. The idiot! Oh, just give me a rolled up newspaper, stupid dog.
So bad.
God, I hate this dog. Oh God. Anyway, that poor.
You okay,
woodchuck,
buddy?
That poor woodchuck.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that dog. Anyway, so let's see. I'm not super crazy about the Jessica Biel portrayal. It's okay.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah. There was one gag I misheard and I thought was hilarious, but yeah, it was a false alarm. That was like Bridget Monahan, but they said Michelle Monahan. I was like, well. It was Bridget Monahan. Like, oh my God, been hilarious. Anyway. Yes, so episode 8.
Okay, episode 8, The Judge. I was hoping this was going to be based on the Robert Downey Jr. Vera Farmiga movie, but alas, not.
We got D'Onofrio. Maybe next season.
I know, right?
There's only hope. We got Tucci. We got D'Onofrio. If only now we can get sweet Farmiga.
Yeah, I'm not really crazy about this one either. I think the next 4 episodes are all basically home runs. I think the final stretch of episodes in this season are home runs. I think the season kind of goes. I think 7 and 8 are kind of like the slow stretch of the season for me.
Oh, we know 9's a good. Yeah, I think you're right. 9 on now, it's pretty much a slam dunk.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We have the hand gag in this one. The hand gag is funny. The fact that he has to go like that poor Wood Charles. Poor Wood. Oh God, poor Woodchuck. He has replacement hands, and initially they're lobster claws, and every hand. Well, first they're gorilla hands, and then eventually they're lobster claws. He gets all these hand transplants, and he has to suffer for them. And he has that stupid dog in his corner now backing him. It's a recipe for disaster. Unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, Peanut Butter does have a point. The dog almost beat him, and he knows nothing about politics. He doesn't even know what a governor is.
Far too long to realize this, but
yeah, I love the. I've always loved the. As much as I hate Peanut Butter, I do love the Todd's Bad Ideas. Of
course.
Do you remember what that character's name is? The one who's like he's begging Todd not to come up with any more ideas.
No, I wouldn't be able to remember.
I tried looking it up, but I had no idea. I didn't know where to start looking at that one.
But
anyway, so the Clentus. We should up at the Clentus.
What is that? Is that Ralph's holiday tradition?
No, Clentus, the clown dentist.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, very timely with the season being released the same weekend as It coming out, but
you pre-planned that at all, or you think it was just like?
I mean, I'd like to think the show is self-aware enough to pre-plan something like that, but I don't know. That'd take a lot of maneuvering around to get it in that perfect time slot,
Clentus was so I really thought. I think you more than me, but I really didn't. I thought the Clentus was really funny.
I mean, to tell you the truth, I wasn't a huge fan of this storyline. I think some of it is good. I like the idea, like I like Todd's whole epiphany, we can have the clowns and the dentists teach each other.
Oh God. It's the idea of
he's so proud of himself when he comes up with that too.
I think it's that one character who kind of outlines why it's a bad idea, but at some point it's outlined why all the various reasons to be a horrible idea. You want clowns as dentists. One thing, two things the 2 things that children fear most. That young children fear most, dentists who are going to cause you pain, and there's nothing.
Now in the It sequel, we need to see Pennywise as a dentist,
and then of course you have clowns, which in this modern era, it's been for a long time, but especially now in the modern era with again the It resurgence, clowns and American Horror Story. Clowns have become it's unrepairable scary now with clowns. It is
right. It is.
There was a time where maybe again circus clowns, you had a chance. Now it's there's no fixing it anymore. It's just perpetually scared me. Joker was kind of the longest proponent of scary clown, but now it's.
I mean, I think especially once Dark Knight Joker hit, then it was all over.
Joker up to maybe the 70s, like after the 80s onward with the Joker, that's when we enter now scary clowns are definitely a known entity.
Mm-hmm. Anyway. All right, anyways.
Yes, that's important.
So I'm not sure. Like the whole subplot with Bojack judging the reality show was okay. It was fine. But my favorite gag within that subplot was the Sir Mix-a-Lot thing. What's the one thing I'm known for? I cannot lie. Well, yes, you are known for that.
Well, the fact they got Sir Mix-a-Lot for that, by the way. Well, I guess the two last story-related things to hit is that one, Princess Carolyn, she her story is a little by the numbers. The whole going by meeting the parents and the parents don't like her. They're very kind of it's very guess who's coming to dinner.
Mm. Oh yeah.
She's a cat in a family of mice. The mice really.
They have this horrific holiday that basically just demonifies cats to a ridiculous degree.
It's like the Jewish family who's laying over someone who's maybe descends from Nazi lineage, and so
oh god, right?
Either that or it looks like it. Anyway, let's see again. I love the ending of the episode. Bojack with the ice cream offer.
Yeah, that was nice.
It's really abrupt, and I think they should have said something with that. But it was a nice bit of Bojack being very fatherly, and she's not receptive to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
moving on. Like I said, these next four all hit home runs, I think. So, Ruthie! Yeah, the Princess Carolyn-centric episode. My God, I think every season's had a good Princess Carolyn-centric episode. Remember last season we had the episode where it was all set in the restaurant? And it was one really horrible date between her and Bojack that just kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, that was a good one. I forgot that was entirely Carolyn.
Yeah, it was that was like an animated bottle episode.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course this has a beautiful narrative device where we see the titular character Ruthie, played by your favorite Kristen Bell.
Oh, ain't she precious?
And also, Dragon, I want to point out that the Teach Bot is played by Kristen Chenoweth. And I want to say that's intentional because Kristen Bell and Kristen Chenoweth are obviously the two women who have most famously worked with Idina Menzel.
Mm-hmm. So, well, what? I think it's more directly related to Tiki. I think it's more so that Chenoweth, she voices Princess Carolyn's rival.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Right. I forgot about that.
That's that's a guess that I could be reading into.
I know. I guess just having having Anna and Glinda in the same room together is kind of it's like the it's like the Idina Menzel best friends club.
Oh, speaking of just thoughts and prayers, and also speaking of
thoughts and prayers.
Kristen Bell, so again, she's been really she's really helping out in all the in the hurricane season this year. She's doing a really good job. Just wanted to kind of get her points on that one. She's been saving a lot of people.
Nice.
Yeah, good for her.
Okay, so of course this episode is kind of like a very good, terrible day. It's just everything kind of going
good,
wrong.
Rotten, terrible day. Only without the family subplot.
So, of course, some really dark stuff. We find out that Carolyn has miscarried, and she's very much struggling to tell Ralph about that.
We have a really dark joke where all the oh yes, Miss, and basically all the Mariah Carey, Miss Carey.
Right,
the various misses. As she, your heart goes out to the Carolyn. She's trying to tell Ralph, but again, it's like, oh, basically Miss Carey.
Oh, Miss Carey Underwood, Miss Carrie Fisher. Maybe not Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, come on, man, not Carrie.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to think of Carrie. Miss Carrie Underwood, and then the last one is Miss Mariah Carey. There's so many Carries.
Yes, no, but again, your heart goes out for she just can't bring herself to tell him at first, and then of course you have all this other stuff going on where she's the scene that crushed me is when she fired poor Judah.
Yeah, that was a very real world kind of it wasn't even that Judah was trying to go against her. It was just that he did something that was out of line with what she wanted.
Yeah.
And I
Didn't
love
do
the
anything
line.
wrong necessarily. He just didn't tell her about something.
Right, and I love the line. It's like, Judah, I'm sorry, I can't trust you. I can't work with you. It's like, because that's a real thing that happens, Dragon. You know, at the workplace, it's like, if you cross a line, you're done.
Yeah, it's it. I love he takes it in stride and he tells her, "Don't forget you got dinner reservations." Like that whole thing. Oh man, it's so crushing. I want to see Judah again, man. I want Judah to come back.
And of course, Bojack and Diane are in an endless line trying to obtain Hollyhock's birth certificate the whole episode.
Can I just mention something very minor? There's not really a lot to say on that story.
Yeah.
I love that Bojack has pink berry in the beginning.
Right.
Anyway, let's see. So interestingly, with the Bojack of it all here, it really comes into fray in these next couple episodes. But I guess with Carolyn, she's kind of intrinsically linked to Bojack, and as she attempts to move forward and kind of bounce back, as she constantly does, she always bounces back when some bad happens, lands on her feet, if you will. Like all this bad stuff's been happening. She got fired, from the climbing, from all the mistaken stuff. Necklace is a fake. She's ending up alone because basically her relationship implodes with Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, she has to bring Bojack back into her world, even though she's tried not to do that because she's gonna have a movie. She's gonna have to bring Bojack back.
Yeah, the whole season's kind of like been building that she's been avoiding Bojack.
Yeah, because again, she's going to be wrapped up, basically go back to square one, being Bojack's agent, which is just kind of, it's a dead end job.
Mm-hmm. And of course, talk about the ending.
Yes, so there's this wonderful device that's in the episode where basically the teacher bus trying to rush her through the story. Basically, you get to the point like this is all really sad, and she promises a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that device here because this whole time it's like, oh, how do we make a happy ending after she's fired Judah of all people? How do we get a happy ending out of this? And I'm racking my brain, and we get to the ending where basically she's calling Bojack, and Bojack's saying, you know what, those job offers, I can't them, I don't want them. And basically she kind of airs her problems out to Bojack, and she says, I've had a rotten day. You know what I do when I have a rotten day like this? What? I imagine I have like a cute descendant, basically a cute great-granddaughter in the future who's in front of her class. She's very precocious and she's telling a story about my life, and it's like, and you realize, you put two and two together, oh my god, this whole framing device has been her imagining, basically trying to kind of lift herself out of this horrible day, and there's no happy ending. That to me was brilliant.
That was some really powerful storytelling right there.
Yes, it's a little bit like the kind of the dark punchline at the end of the seahorse episode.
Mm-hmm. Okay, episode 10, Lovin' That Cali Lifestyle. Yes. Of course, starts with an incredibly dark, cold open with Hollyhock, from her perspective, Odin. And I don't know, Dre, there's a couple things in this episode to me, out of the last four, this is probably the one that's the least home run. It's still very good. Of course, we finally get to see Hollyhock's, 8 dads, which is very funny. I love quackers. I love quackers most of all because me and duck characters.
Well, Andre Brower plays the one in all black.
Mm-hmm.
He's the dancing one.
Right.
Plays him very hilariously.
Of course, you mentioned earlier on Bojack, his panic attack in the bathroom in this episode is just, oh my god, the voice acting on Will Arnett in that is just...
It's just, he voices such a parental thing, and it shows you that Bojack does have parental capabilities. And let's not forget, there's that great kind of what-if thing with Bojack we had seasons past, where Bojack imagines a life where he had a daughter.
Of course.
This is really hitting home with kind of that Shangri-La he wanted, but in this crappy reality where he knows he doesn't want this in this world where he's dumping all the dumping all the pills and everything. Like, oh god, he's panicking on the floor. It's death-defying. Like, oh god.
And this is also where we get Bojack's speech to his mother, right?
Well, we have that fantastic reveal where just as Bojack is forgiving his mother, just as he's forgiving Beatrice, he basically realizes, she as she has been preparing the coffee, as she knows, preparing the coffee, says, what did you put in this coffee? What's that? Because he knows he didn't give her any diet didn't give her any pills or anything, and basically realized that there's like a diet supplement powder or something. Basically, diet pills in a powdery form. Basically, you could pour it in the
Go
coffee.
straight up Requiem for a Dream.
And he realizes, oh my god! And she says, "Oh, it's an age-old family secret." And the fact that she's essentially been poisoning his daughter all this time is like, oh god, he's so ticked off at her. He drops her off at the worst old age home he can find, and it's like, see you never, Bojack.
Oh god,
it's a great ending. It's a fantastic ending.
And just really quick, I do like the moment before he makes that realization where he's basically talking to his mother about, like, all my life, Mom, I've resented you, but now I realize, being a parent myself, like, it's fucking impossible to be a parent. You honestly, can't win, so I can't. Yeah, it should have been there. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, it should have been in this scene, like, either when he realizes, or in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, you know what I mean, though. He's just he's really, really kind of self-reflective in this scene about, like, the nature of his relationship with his mother and the nature of parenting in general. Really, really powerful stuff.
I guess one brief thing of levity in this really dark episode. Again, the Clintus they're bringing kind of a breath of fresh air here. They're helping, kind of like Ocean's 11 style. They're helping Princess Carolyn here when they're, Dr. Piccarello. Out of all the clowns, my favorite is Dr. Piccarello.
Yes, I agree.
The actual dentist who, just the one who's the actual dentist who's horrible at being a clown.
But she gets into it as the season goes on. She has a little mini arc of her own.
Yeah, she does.
Okay, anyway, so let's get into it, Dragon. Let's get into episode 11.
Oh, you know what's funny? My dentist, actually, they like the circus. So there's a picture in the office of them dressed as clowns.
Oh, God.
I just realized as we were talking about this, like, oh my God, my dentist also
liked
that picture. Anyway.
Yeah, episode 11, Time's Arrow. Possibly the best episode of the whole series.
Yes.
Possibly.
Well, it's definitely up there.
It's definitely up there. I mean, it's, as we've said, all episode 11s of all the seasons are fantastic. Jesus Christ, the way this narrative plays, we see the funny memories, we see the...
it's definitely the best edited out of any of these.
I love how we see Beatrice, but her face is squiggled out. We get her face obscured. I love how some people's faces are obscured, but other people's faces are clear in the memory.
They visually communicated dementia so well. Like, memory issues, they were visually told so well, because, you remember some faces more than others. The rest are squiggly lines, or they're not there. Like Henrietta, that's the one we don't see. We don't see Henrietta at all. That might be something next season that might get into a little bit, but, who knows.
For sure. Yeah, and of course, what do you think of Buttercup Horseman?
Butterscotch.
Or Butterscotch, I'm sorry, Butterscotch.
It's a great name given Bojack's an alcoholic.
Yes.
Well, we've seen Butterscotch a little bit. I like that we got more into his character. Again, what I love with the genealogy of the Bojack,
I mean, he very much seems to be of, like father, like son, right? Where he comes off as, like, super charming on surface level, but then you realize there's just a multitude of emotional problems with him as you spend more time with him.
Exactly. Yeah, he seems to have it all together. But I gleaned a few important details from just kind of tracking kind of the character traits of Bojack and the family here. Is that one, we kind of hint at Bojack and Diane, if not getting together, then at the very least we see Bojack's attraction to Diane, which we've established in the beginning. I mean, I'm not saying they need to get together, but I would understand that it seems like they're hinting that Bojack and Diane are going to get together.
I'm pretty sure that's the arc that the whole series is kind of building to, is that eventual them coming together. I don't know.
The point of their characters that they're both...
I think the point of their characters right now is it's kind of like Star-Lord and Gamora to a certain extent, where the reason why those two haven't gone together yet is that they're not ready to get together. Like, they're both in different places in their life, and they're not emotionally ready. And I feel like that's the same thing with Bojack and Diane. It's like, they are good fits for each other. The only thing is they need to work through their own issues before they can be compatible with each other.
Exactly. Again, they are very similar in their characterization, which is why they're compatible, but that's kind of a negative thing at the moment. They need to process their stuff before they get together. Yes. Anyway, well, the reason I draw the comparison is because you think of Butterscotch and Henrietta. That's kind of the human horse dynamic there.
Sure, sure.
Let's see. So yeah, and the fact that like Butterscotch, he sacrificed his dream to have success, very much like Bojack. Bojack had his fantasy of what he wanted to have, but he went with success in the Hollywood system, and that that brought him to of course being perpetually unhappy. Same thing with Butterscotch. So again, there's kind of like a very kind of fundamental character thing going there. And I love what we explore in this flashback. And it's so well told, so well edited. But I love that with the whole I don't think coronation. The debutante ball.
Mm-hmm.
We have high society then is what we see in BoJack Horseman as Hollywood now. So basically back then that was their Hollywood. That was just kind of the high society of where you have to impress, you have to live up to a certain standard. Very, very similar. Also, let's mention that Beatrice's father, Joseph Sugarman, he is a voice of Matthew Broderick.
One of the darkest roles I've ever seen Matthew Broderick play.
Oh, you betcha. And again, I love unfolding the mystery as this goes on because we have these really great cryptic kind of flashes. They again kind of play with dimension, kind of play with kind of memory, the unreliable kind of memory narrator, if you will, a narrator with memory issues, which is kind of a fascinating thing. We see all these cryptic images, and like she's pregnant. We see the melting doll in the fireplace. What the heck's going on with her? It's just freaky. Then we realize, because she had scarlet fever, they were burning the stuff and they're burning the doll. That's why doll.
I love the mystery of the doll, how it works its way through the season and through the episode. It's very Citizen Kane-like.
And I love that. It's like all the big kind of plot points and the breadcrumbs of the season are in this episode as well. Because, a baby is born, Nose has like a little diamond on the head, which, of course, definitely foreshadows. Like, Bojack's putting it together.
I don't know about you. I pretty much put the pieces together when I watched this episode.
Yeah, I don't know. I get wrapped up and I didn't realize it. Well, I had to rewatch to really get on board with the idea, so that's probably wise. Like, it's a lot to take in. Let's see anything.
Yeah, just overall, just how artfully the episode's done and how haunting it is. It's truly
the intensity.
One of the most. Yeah, for sure.
And one last thing we got to hit with Beatrice, because it's a very important thing. It's great, wonderfully performed by Wendy Malick in the episode. The whole the fact that she tried to save Henrietta by cutting the emotional ties by saying, "Hey, look, you're going to give that baby up for adoption." Because she's trying to save herself, make the decision that she should have made. When she had the the option with Bojack, she decided to, again, which is kind of a dark thing for our character, saying, "Hey, Bojack should have never been born." Which is really dark. But that's.
I mean, it's dark, but it also fits in with like everything else that we've seen from the character. It's just very like poetically appropriate.
But if you look at it darkly, it's like Bojack's a mistake, and he hasn't made the world a better place, and that's it. It's a heady idea, but that's kind of what they're saying here. I love at the end is that we take this dark kind of abuse from Bojack's past here, the fact that he has to tell his mother a story, and in the end of the episode, he's acting and he's telling her a story, and it's in a much nicer context. Okay,
episode 12. What time is it right now?
Where's your Messiah now?
All right. Now, Dragon, I feel like all the Bojack Horseman finales have been more kind of like epilogues where, it's kind of like the Better Call Saul thing, right? Where the big events happen in the penultimate episode, and then the last episode kind of wraps everything up. Same case here. I don't know. I wasn't really a fan of the clown dentist becoming zombies.
Well, they had rabies. It wasn't necessarily zombies. But...
Well, it was zombies.
I mean, they're doing zombies, but I'm just saying there's no way of actually turning someone into a zombie, Tiki. It's
I know. I don't know, Dragon. To tell you the truth, I'm kind of mixed on this last episode. I don't really like. It seems like Princess Carolyn is always kind of going around in circles, like with each of the season finales. Like last season finale, it was like, I'm gonna be an agent, and this one, it's like she's gonna try and pitch a new TV series just because really, it sounds like a pretty cheesy like cop drama TV show. But the reason why she's attracted to the script is because Filbert, which was going to be the name of her unborn child.
And he is not voiced by Doug Lawrence because he was
No.
because he wasn't born, that's why.
Right.
Anyway, but I love the opening though. I love how while that's kind of being pitched, we parallel. We see BoJack basically kind of walking in the scene, and basically it's kind of over the detective pitch as it's going on. What I love about that, Tiki, is the fact that BoJack is being paralleled with a detective, not only literally, but he's being paralleled with him in a character way, because BoJack in this episode becomes a detective piecing together what he's learned, and helping Hollyhock out.
Right, which, like I said, it kind of it's like the point. It's like the point in Psycho where we get all the exposition, right?
Well, I mean, later on when he tells the fathers, yeah. But
that's what I'm saying.
He did piece it. We saw like he exposes the detective work that he did do. So he did kind of become the detective.
Look, I'm not saying it's a bad episode. I'm just saying it's it serves its purpose well. It's kind of a good sort of like in between getting us into the next chapter of BoJack's story.
Well, I love that. I love doing the big revelations with the BoJack doodles. I love doing that. I love how that's shown. I kind of like the whole lemons and lemonade with the Clentus business. They turn like all these traps and everything into like, hey, it's like a run for your life. And they actually are like kind of zombie. There are like the zombie marathons. Those things do exist. Like it's a little like a fun thing. I've seen those kind of set up where
I mean, look, I live in a town that has a lot of fitness culture in it, and these types of people definitely exist that would sign up for something like oh no, they're real zombies, so if they bite you, you will get rabies and die. And then the guy's just like, well, I have no excuse now.
Yeah. It's a kind of a fun satire. Those things, it's kind of funny. Let's see.
You're going to have to explain to me this ending with Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter, because from what I took it as, it seemed like a happy ending for them.
In no way would it seem happy to you. She says she basically kind of pulls a Mallrats on him here, which is, it's like our marriage is like one of those, those 3D paintings where you squint and you see the image. Basically,
wait, that's at the very end? I thought that was like earlier on in the season. I could have sworn that was like episode 9 or something.
No, Tiki, that's the ending.
Really?
That's the last scene with them, yeah.
Well, shoot, I mean, fair enough, yeah.
Hence the arc.
I mean, I feel embarrassed now. This is what happens when you binge, folks. I could have sworn they had that conversation.
Remember, they drive.
I know. They with the ridiculous one-lane bridge to Hawaii.
Such a dumb idea and a waste of taxpayer money.
Yep, that's Mr. Peanut Butter for you.
Oh God. Anyway, so. Finally, it seems that Diane's waking up, because in this scene, she's basically saying, hey, our marriage is like you're squinting one of those 3D paintings, and Peanut Butter's like, oh, yeah, I love those things. And then she says, but I'm tired of squinting. She breaks down crying, saying, but I don't want to squint anymore. Basically saying,
you're right.
Intimating that she's getting ready for a divorce or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and finally, the last scene of the episode, in my opinion, probably the best cliffhanger that we've gotten so far.
I thought it was like a solid ending. They didn't really seem like a cliffhanger to me.
Well, I mean, the cliffhanger is that, now, I love how we're going to get more Hollyhock in season 5, and we're going to get her in a different light. That, to me, is what makes her a really, really solid addition to the show, where...
So the revelation, by the way, we didn't really say what the revelation was, is that...
Well, I mean, the revelation is that Hollyhock is indeed BoJack's younger sister and not his daughter.
There you go. I mean, we should just say that before we talk about the ending. I think it might be a little important. Go on.
I don't know. To me, just the way that moment's played, the music, the dialogue, Hollyhock saying, BoJack, I've told you from the beginning, I have 8 dads. I've never needed a dad, but I've always wanted a brother. And then the look on BoJack's face at the end, it's so perfect for me. I got... it's like, look, I'm always a little teary-eyed by the end of a Bojack Horseman season, all right? That's just the nature of this show. But this, I think, hit me the hardest, because this was, I thought the ending to season 3 was, it was tasteful, it was artfully done, it was maybe a little bit too metaphorical. I thought this was the perfect kind of all right, now Bojack finally has something in his life that's positive, that he can work out, that's worth working on.
Exactly, that's what it is, Tiki. It's like a rarity that I don't think the other 3 seasons have had, where BoJack actually has a happy ending for a season, where he smiles. We just focus on BoJack.
I mean, one can argue that the season 3 ending ultimately was happy after a very dark moment, but...
Well, no, BoJack just kind of left everything behind. It was just kind of more like that was more of a cliffhanger. This is actually like this feels like kind of like an ending to a chapter in like the grand story. I guess it's like, kind of like BoJack happy. Like now, seemingly he's on the road to repair now.
Yeah. Dragon, I don't know, and I gotta say, like, as much as I am loving this show, I kind of hope they don't push it beyond season 6 or 7 at the most. Like, because I feel like it's not that I feel like they're running out of steam or anything. It's just that so far the writing on the show has been so top notch and so tight and so consistent. I just don't want to see this show reach a level of fatigue where we're like, oh, okay, like season 8 of BoJack Horseman. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think the ending would probably be one of two things by my approximation. Again, like whatever the end point, let's say season 6. Let's say the end of season 6 by my theory. Like the last place you can go with BoJack's character logically would probably be he humbly wins an Oscar, or he retires quietly.
Mm. Okay, so final thoughts, Dragon.
Final thoughts. Again, honestly, aside from the Miss Peanut Butter stuff, seriously, aside from that, I really thought the season was solid. All the Beatrice mystery, like again, the mystery element, the dynamic between BoJack and his daughter, the Todd stuff was really on point. I was happy with the season.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think this season might be one of the weaker seasons in terms of like getting all the characters together and having the characters work off each other, but this is obviously not the point of what this season was trying to do. I think this season is almost kind of a game changer for the show because it showed that we can push the storytelling into a whole bunch of new directions. It showed that, you know, different characters can kind of stand on their own, especially Princess Caroline and Todd. And yeah, just overall, I do think, like I said, while interpersonally it might not be the strongest season, I think this is definitely the strongest batch of episodes just because of how many risks they take from episode to episode and how there's very few episodes that just feel like a standard format. So really, this is definitely the most artfully done and powerful season of BoJack Horseman yet, I think. All right. And what does Vincent D'Onofrio say, Dragon?
This D'Onofrio hasn't enough Frio.